Point on Instagram. Glad you get to see the new intro. I'm trying to upgrade some of these videos, so basically adding a little bit more quality to them. So let's get started. Today I really want to talk about something that was really on my mind because of the events of yesterday, the Notre Dame fire that basically destroyed the cathedral, the roof, and a lot of the architecture, but also a lot of art. And thinking about conservation when we're thinking about the art that we do. As artists on this level, so more emerging artists, some established artists, new artists, one of the things you really think about when you're starting a body of work or a new piece is materials. And when you think about materials, one of the things you want to think about is how long do these materials last? When we're thinking about those materials, questions of, is this paint going to sort of keep its color over time, or will it fade? When we're thinking about 3D materials, will this material break down in this composition or structure over time? Or do I have to always make sure I have to keep maintenance on it? What temperatures will affect this material? Will the heat affect this material? Will light affect this material? How long will this last? Will it last for years, decades, centuries? Will it last over, hundreds of years? Things like that. Those are some of the questions that come up, or you want to ask yourself whenever you're sort of picking material. One of the reasons why you really want to think about how long those materials last, because when you sell a work to a collector wants to make sure that that piece is in their collection for a long period of time, for at least their lifetime, and a couple generations afterwards. So they're thinking about, will this piece last? So when they buy it, they want to know that it's not going to break down next week. They want to know that it's not going to fall apart after a decade or start to fold up. So, using archival materials. So your collector's thinking about longevity of a piece. Sometimes you're thinking about the longevity of a piece and how long, it will last in terms of the materials. But sometimes you don't want to really even be handcuffed to the materials. You want to make art for that current space and time. So like a lot of street art, artists like myself that make works on walls, I know that that thing will not last a long time, mainly because it's street art is not made to last a long time. I know that there's a shelf life. It may last a month, it may last a year or two, it may last 5 years or 10 years, but I know eventually it will come down. The idea of art not lasting a long time is really something that a lot of artists today kind of really understand, mainly because art and art making is more accessible to people of every background and every sort of geographic location, and mainly because a lot of people really experiment with a ton of materials. So there's not sort of like this sort of traditional material that you have to use now. It's a lot of materials that are just sometimes found objects. A lot of installations are made from unusual materials. That's one thing why art is great, because you want to try to push those boundaries of what you're using. So art making sometimes become, let me make it first and then figure out if I can kind of preserve it over time, rather than let me make sure I use materials that can be preserved over time and then make my stuff, because sometimes those just don't really click together. So this idea of conservation really sparks the importance of galleries and curators, and especially museums, mainly because museums are these places that say, this piece of work is important enough to society that we have to sort of figure out how to present it, but also conserve it and make sure it lasts for generations upon generations. We have to make sure it lasts a long time, or it's here forever. So getting into museums are really great, because I would love to have sort of like my work last forever and have someone say this isn't really important to society. So definitely comment in the comment section when it comes to conservation, and your ideas of conservation, your ideas of should art last forever, or does art last forever? Because as we've seen with Notre Dame, sometimes you can really have an institution sort of try to preserve artwork and its message, but sometimes natural disasters or human error can destroy artwork. So this conversation, I think, is really, really important. So make sure you comment in the comment section and you share with another artist so that they can get into the discussion. And I will be back next week with another Art Tip Tuesday. Peace.